That is why they are so fervent. TV with your host, Jeff Charles.
Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
Hello and welcome to Right On, where we tackle the issues of the day from the right perspective. Balloons and UFOs have entered U.S. airspace. The saga started with a Chinese balloon traveling over Alaska to the Montana region, where it was finally shot down after days of flying over the country. Are we on the brink of an alien invasion or something worse? Who knows? I know who knows. Liberty Nation's military affairs correspondent Dave Patterson is joining me to shed some light on this situation. Welcome to the program, sir.
Jeff, good to be with you.
All right, so let's get into it. What is going on with these balloons and UFOs and flying objects? Are we being invaded by aliens, Mr. Patterson? Just kind of shed some light on this. You wrote a few articles about this for Liberty Nation.
I have. I don't think it's an invasion. It's more like an infestation, if you want to know the truth. But what it has done is it has kind of focused the American public on some of the really serious shortfalls in America's homeland defense. And I think we should all be very concerned about that. Also, I think it also points to some serious shortfalls in the way decision making is being made by this administration.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. This first balloon, it was over U.S. territory for, I can't remember how many days, but why did it take our military so long to respond?
Well, we believe that it first crossed the air defense identification zone back on the 28th of January. But the president wasn't briefed on it, according to him, until Wednesday. I believe it was the second or first or second. I mean, the thing has been in the air for 4 days, and nobody bothered to brief the president when it had come over Alaska that we know about, and then came into the United States over Idaho. And before anyone bothered to tell the American people that this balloon at 60,000 feet was traversing the United States and over many very sensitive bases, as you point out, and, our global reach headquarters in Omaha, the balloon had an opportunity to linger over it. But it wasn't until, as you point out, two guys in Montana with binoculars that this thing came to light. This is a real slap in the face of the American public, whether they think that we're too naive or uneducated to understand these things, both of which are terribly demeaning.
So that's what I don't understand, because I was reading other reports, and I believe you wrote about this as well. This happened under the Trump administration, too. So both Trump and Biden were not aware of these balloons coming into the country. Why is that? Why would they not be notified immediately?
Well, remember, our only understanding or knowledge that balloons are said to have been around under the Trump administration is by the Biden administration. None of the national security team that worked for former President Donald Trump will tell you that they knew anything about this. And so, it's pure speculation on anybody's part whether or not there were actually balloons incursion into the United States airspace. And we don't have any evidence to support it. So this is all assertion on the part of the Biden administration, which brings up an interesting point. Everything that President Biden and his national security team have said about what has happened over this past 2 weeks is assertion. They have refused to provide any real evidence of any of the conclusions that they've come to.
Well, why would they when they had the activist media running cover for them? But I digress. Now, I've been hearing a lot of folks criticizing the Biden administration for not responding that quickly. Like when it was known, it seemed like it took them forever to do something about it. Now, some people are saying that it's sending a bad message to our enemies. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that there are two things that really, again, are highlighted here. First, I think that our radar detection capability has been set up low these many years for a Cold War incursion from Russia or China, but they're looking for aircraft. They're looking for high-flying aircraft traveling at aircraft speeds or missiles. And so they're not necessarily optimized to look for low-flying, and 20,000 to 40,000 would be considered low-flying craft that don't have heat signatures. They're just kind of meandering on the air, the jet stream and prevailing winds. And so it's only been recently that people have said, oh my gosh, we can't detect balloons. And that is a serious a problem for the Homeland Security, as you might suspect. But the more important and easily fixed problem is decision making. They have dithered and dithered over decision making. And should we shoot it down? Should we let it fly? What should we do? And and then they come up with these, oh my goodness, lame excuses. Oh well, if we shot it down, it might actually hit human beings or facilities over land where the number of human beings per square mile is like 1 per 100 square miles. I mean, you hit a fox, or you'll hit or perhaps an endangered species before you'll hit a human being. This simply didn't meet the smell test.
Yeah, and it is kind of scary that the military wasn't ready for something like a balloon to be flying, in our orbit. Kind of makes you wonder how China knew that we didn't have the capability to detect that. But that's another story.
Yeah.
Now, what about these other objects? Are these balloons too? Or because, I don't think I've seen anything clear on what these actually were. I keep hearing them referred to as flying objects. Do we know what these things are yet?
Well, the speculation is, and it's fairly educated speculation, is that these two are, balloon type objects. They're smaller, about the size of an automobile. One report said they're metallicized and they carry their payload suspended beneath. But it brings up a very interesting question. Okay, I can understand you send up some F-22s, you use an AIM-9X $400,000 worth of missile to take down the balloon, and you may have had a good operational reason for that. The F-22s that took down the second and third had very sophisticated avionics and mission systems, and so I can see how they could take it down. I still don't understand why they didn't use their 20 millimeter cannon to bring it down, because then it would have come down, you would have shredded the balloon and it would have come straight down and you would have had more control over it. But then you had the F-16Cs from the Madison, Wisconsin Air National Guard go out and miss with their first missile. Mm-hmm. Now, my sense is that it was a electronic error, and because these are F-16Cs, they came into the inventory in 1974. The AIM-9X missile came into the inventory in 2003. Now, there have been upgrades clearly in both systems, but still, you have 1970s and early 2000s systems that are designed to take out a heat breathing or a heat emitting object. These apparently were not that, and so they had to rely on some other portions of the sensors to take it out. But the first missile failed to hit. It landed somewhere in Lake Huron, didn't hurt anybody. But again, you got a gun, for heaven's sakes. Put your flaps and gear down, fly real slow, and hose the thing. I mean, this doesn't seem like rocket science, but I'm an airlifter, so what do I know, right?
Well, it would have looked a lot cooler with the missiles, so I can see why they would rely on that first. That would have looked awesome. We've all seen Top Gun; it's great.
Yeah, right. But interestingly enough, they have been reluctant to give us any of the gun camera or weapon systems film, the video, which they have to have. You can't shoot stuff down if you don't have a video record. I mean, you can't shoot things, you can't kill things, you can't drop bombs on things, you can't annoy things unless you have a video record of your annoyance.
Gotcha. So last question. I mean, with all the hoopla over these flying objects and balloons and everything else that's flying around out there, how concerned should we be about this? Could this really present an actual threat, or is this more of a distraction, or what do you think?
Well, I think that you hit upon a very important point. If the Chinese or whoever sent these over as a distraction to take our eye off the ball, they certainly have done that. And that they've been successful. And that's something that we really need to be concerned about. This administration has kind of a history of a whack-a-mole approach to crises, national security threats. And while we're whacking the balloon mole, something else may be coming up that we're not aware of. So I think that you bring up a good point, and we really do need to be very sensitive to what else is going on.
Yes, or what could it be portending? I mean, what's coming next? Hopefully it'll be nothing, but if there is, we will be covering it here on Right On Liberty Nation. So thanks for joining the program, sir.
Hey, thank you. It's always great to be with you.
Definitely. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser, or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thank you so much for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.
Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.
That is why they are so fervent. TV with your host, Jeff Charles.
Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.